Hey there, today I want to talk about 5 more cards or abilities that are commonly misplayed. My name is Mr. Guild, and welcome to the Gamers Guild. In a game with 168 unique characters, 282 unique team tactic cards, and I don't even necessarily want to think about the number of different possible crisis combinations, there are bound to be rules that we miss, rules that we misunderstand, and rules that we just completely mess up. So today I want to talk about some of these interactions so that hopefully there are 5 less interactions that get misplayed. And today we aren't just looking at character card rules, but also have some team tactic cards and a crisis card. First up, I want to talk some more about Eye in the Sky and its cousins like Trickster, Escort to Safety, Lifesaver, and so on. In addition to being weird about abilities attached to attacks that are a one time use or a team tactic card that can only be used once, and just outright canceling those things, uh, there's another somewhat unexpected interaction that I've come across. There are several attacks at this point in the game that ignore line of sight and cover. So hiding behind a building won't save you from a shield getting tossed at you or a homing rocket, but Loki and Nick Fury can still manage to get out of the attack. The reason being because these dodge abilities have a line that specifically mention that after the short advance, if the target character is outside of the attack's range or the attacker's line of sight, the attack ends. So, even though the attack ignores line of sight because of the rules of the trickster-esque ability, the attack will end and the attacker will get an action back unless it's one of those beam situations. So, getting out of line of sight alone really, though, won't do the trick in most situations since the enemy character won't have had to spend power yet for the attack. You can just declare the same attack again, and everything goes back to normal, other than a slight repositioning for the character that tried to dodge behind the line of sight. But it will help in situations like Iron Man using Friday AI and homing rockets because the Friday AI power would be wasted on that first attempt. Second up is the commonly misremembered team tactic card in Sacrifice. At a glance, it's a nice team tactic card bodyguard effect, but with some downsides. The downsides being the somewhat obvious you aren't able to buff the character's defenses or use rerolls through most of the typical ways. Shout out to Cable and Doctor Strange who can add dice to the defense roll, though, since a character is only unable to add or modify dice themselves. Unfortunately, reroll abilities like Shuri's say that the character gets to reroll X number of dice, so they don't get to work out. The other downside that is not always quite as obvious is you do not get to add dice to your roll from critical results. Step 8 of the timing chart specifies that it is the character adding dice for criticals rolled. So the character making that noble sacrifice aren't going to get bailed out by crits. But hey, if you count blanks, at least that's not modifying, so great, go crazy there. The third thing I want to talk about is Frenzy slash Angelic Assassin slash Paint the Town Red. These reactive powers are all really strong, letting the user get extra mobility followed by an extra attack. And then Carnage even gets to completely heal himself up. But you should make sure you have enough power for the combo before you attack because these superpowers trigger upon dazing or KOing an enemy character, not the much more common after the attack is resolved window that the majority of superpowers have, which means that the attacking character won't have had a chance to gain power from the attack quite yet. So, before your opponent goes on a total killing spree, or before you spend the 2 power on Carnage for sadistic glee, make sure the power is there before damage to pop off these really strong abilities. The fourth interaction I want to talk about is Paranoia. This extract objective sets itself apart by being the only extract that cares about using a buddy system, or at least having an allied character stay within range 2 of each other, and punishes you if you don't by damaging a character who picks up one of these extracts. A generally neat trick is because the card doesn't specify non-dazed characters, but you can still use the buddy system to not have to take that damage, even if your buddy is dazed on the floor. So, if you have been playing that part correctly, you may be surprised, like I was, to find out that this same trick doesn't work for scoring the extra bonus point you can get from this crisis. That's because on page 15 of the core rules, it specifies that characters with a day's token never contribute to scoring conditions. And since that is exactly what is happening in this crisis, it doesn't quite work out. But hey, at least a dazed buddy will still prevent some damage. The fifth card interaction here I'm going to cheat a bit with because while I do technically have a card rule in mind, its interaction isn't exactly common. This is maybe more of a, hey, here's a rule that you maybe didn't know about. So the card I have in mind is Hela, specifically her Queen of Hell ability on her injured side that lets her spend 3 souls to, well, not die if she would be KO'd. The interaction here is what happens if Hela has 2 soul tokens and is thrown into another low health character, causing them both to be KO'd, and the answer is it depends. Although collisions are generally thought to be simultaneous, they are really close to being that, but aren't quite. As with characters that have multiple triggers that use the same timing window, like after the attack is resolved, it is the player using those effects that gets to determine the order in which to resolve them. So, who takes their collision damage is first is going to be up to the person performing the throw. So, if your opponent decided to resolve the damage into the other model first, dazes them, then Hela will obtain the soul token just in time to restore herself. Again, that particular instance happening is pretty niche, and unless you were playing at an event, I would recommend not trying to gotcha someone with this interaction. However, it's some good general use information that does have some other applications throughout the game, and may gain more as we see more and more unique interactions appearing in the game. So these are my 5 rules that hopefully we'll see less and less misplay going forward. Here at the end of the video, I have a few things I want to mention. First, thanks to AMG, I got my hands on the new X-Wave. So along with this video's release, I'm going to be releasing a poll asking which one of these mutants I should paint first on my stream this Tuesday, which will also be my first painting stream, which is kind of cool. Uh, so I ask you to go and please vote for Nightcrawler because I really want to paint him. Secondly, if you want to get the chance to get one of these new X-Men boxes yourself or any other standard MCP expansion box, if the X-Men don't really interest you, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and leave a comment on a video in the month it was released. Doing so will enter you into Tritex's monthly giveaway. And speaking of Tritex, I want to give a shout out to the guild sponsors. If you are in the UK, shop at Tritex, use the code TritexGGCP5 at checkout for an extra 5% off. And if you use that on a pre-order item like, well, Professor X, uh, you were able to save 25% off in total. If you are in the US, you can head to gamechefs.org and use the code GamersGuild, no spaces, to save an extra 15% off of their already discounted prices as well, which comes out to a really good bargain on your end. However, I will continue to say if you're shopping from your own LGS, keep supporting them. That's awesome to have that community there. And if you want to know why I decided to introduce myself as Mr. Guild today, down in the description of this video, there will be a link to the Gamers Guild Discord where enough people have upvoted a thing for me to introduce myself as Mr. Guild for this video. So if you want to come and join us in hijinks and talk about MCP, Shatterpoint, and other just nerdy fun stuff, feel free to join us in the Guild Hall. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep on gaming.